All right, guys, it is 11 a.m. This is like the third take I've done of this. Maybe someday I'll upload a bunch of bloopers and you can see like my weirdo process. It's always within the first couple minutes. It's been a rough couple days, not just physically. Just I'm really going through some crazy emotional shit. I don't know why. I have an idea why, but this is what's up. So obviously I've been suffering bad fatigue. I'm bitching about it all the time. I've had a cavity, but it hasn't been that severe. At least I thought. And then I've been getting really pulsating headaches lately as well. Headaches are nearly impossible to do videos when you have them, when your mouth hurts, similar, but it's not impossible. You can tough it out. What gets me is when I get in these like weird emotional states and I start having emotional episodes. And I'm not trying to do the dog ate my homework shit. And it's not going to be like this, all the time. I'm just letting you know what's going on with me. I think since you guys have known me last year, you've probably witnessed one time that I went into some sort of psychological episode, and that was when I was with Nick Stahl up in Northern California. I got suicidal up there, and I always had mental health issues, whether that's ADD, bipolar, whatever it was. I truly believe that I was self-medicating, and I also think that taking Ritalin at a young age probably affected my neurology in a way where I became a fucking hype. I'll do anything for drugs. Like, come here, man. Get in. All right. When I went to prison, though, and when I got out, was the first time I started getting suicidal ideation. And with me, I get 1 or 2 of these episodes a year, typically. When I was with Nick, I had one. And it's not like suicidal ideation where I'm like, oh, the comments are so fucking mean. I'm going to just slit my wrist. Fuck it. I'm out of here. I can't handle this. It's nothing like that. It's not circumstantial. It's weird, like psychosis delusion stuff where you start thinking about all the mistakes you made and you're like, okay, Karina, my parents, my friends, they'd all be better off without me. I've been a huge burden on their life. I've destroyed my family. I've been parasitical. If I died, then it would finally give them some relief. That's obviously not true. In any logical frame of mind, you're not going to think that way. But when you're in those episodes of suicidal ideation, you start thinking that way. Last 2 nights in a row, I've cried, and I'm not a crier. Like, I rarely fucking cry. And I'm talking about, like, hardcore, like, Oscar crying. Like, oh, like that kind of shit. Wild. Where Karina's just like, Jesus. She's, like, cutting my dick off with a butter knife. She's like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it for you. Which relative? I'm like, I don't know. Let's do my aunt this time. She's like, okay. Throws it in the mail. She was really worried about me the last 2 nights, and I just have had pretty severe emotional episodes, and I think that it has to do with the documentary, as I've stated. But it's a real thing, and it's not the kind of thing I should run away from. I know that talking about that certainly helps mitigate it, and it tempers the psychosis, right? I start thinking a little more rationally. Last night, I had done those monos earlier in the day. Didn't work on the dock at all yesterday. I just needed a break. Got the packages sent out for you guys. So that first batch of stuff. And then I was planning on doing the raffle. I missed it the month. I said, okay, I'm going to give everybody credit for whatever tiers they were for September. And I was going to do a live. I've always had issues with doing lives. Sometimes I can do a hotspot on my phone, but last night I was just having a bunch of issues. And I'd gone to the dentist and he told me that I basically had sepsis going up in the air pathways to my brain because the infection has gotten so bad. And that's what's been giving me the fatigue and the pulsating headaches. Not sure where the emotional duress has come from. So last night I started feeling a little physically ill and I was sweating and typical infection stuff, and I didn't have an appetite, so I couldn't take my antibiotic because it would make me puke. And the night just kept going on, and I'm just like, Monte messaged me. It's like, hey, let's talk. So, all right, give me 10 minutes. I was thinking, okay, that'll make me feel better. And then I try to reach back out to him, and I think he'd gone to sleep. And I'm like, okay, I got to do a video. And then I just went into this weird ass episode, and Karina said she was scared of me, not scared that I'd hurt her, but scared that I was gonna kill myself. She just said she saw it in my, like, how I was acting, and like I was like crying, and I don't know, I was on some real bitch shit. Hey man, I'm one. Oh, we knew that. And finally, that kind of bled into the morning. I was supposed to be on 23-1 this morning at 11. Got up to do it, and he thought I meant 11 his time, East Coast. So I still didn't do that. And I'm just like, I feel how I do right before a relapse. I know myself. I know how I get, and I'm right there. I'm like, right where, like, I'm starting to trick myself where, like, I'm like, okay, well, dick cut off with a butter knife sent to Aunt, who already has 9 of the dicks that I've chopped off and sent, or I do some heroin and I get relief. And I've always explained it with the analogy that heroin is like putting a blanket on you when you've been, had some draft or you've been cold your entire life and you finally get some comfort. And that's exactly how it is. And you kind of forget how bad it can be. And I don't want to be trapped in that. So I'm like looking at my kid and I'm like, okay, I'm hanging in there. I got to fight through it for him. And I have not relapsed. You guys would definitely know. I'd be on here with like acne and dreadlocks. I'd be like, oh, let's do GoFundMe. I'm trying to buy kids in Ireland AstroTurf that they can rollerblade on. You're like, what the fuck? That doesn't even make sense. Oh, just send me money. You guys know. I mean, go look back at the videos from the dates from what really happened. October, November last year. I'm strung out. I'm miserable. I hate myself. And, that's the real issue, is that there's dual diagnosis going on. And like, I can like make jokes about everything all the time, but fact of the matter is lately I've really been suffering. Perhaps it is going through the documentary because now I kind of remember the person that I was. You lie to yourself so much, you tend to start believing it. And, you make all these justifications and rationale up about why you do the things that you do. Why you steal from your family, why you cheat on your girlfriend, why you, get high on peanut butter crank and stick fucking Raid up your ass. Well, it's for the girth, fool, fuck it. And so when you go so long with justifying and making these faux rationalizations, you forget who you are, So then you go back and you watch footage of the person that you used to be, and I see my family and like what I've done to them. It's really, it's been really uncomfortable for me, which is, I'm sure if I survive it all, I'll come out a better person, but it's just, that's what's up, and I'm not really like trying to dress it up for something that it's not. I'm not well in the head right now. I mean, maybe it's the fatigue. I don't know. Maybe there is a relationship between physical and emotional pain, but fact of the matter is this is show business, and it still is a business, regardless how I'm feeling. Unless I physically can't do it, yeah, which has been the case the last couple. I literally I couldn't, like Karina was like holding me while I cried like a fucking Broadway singer. What? Very melodic crying, but sorry. I'd stop microdosing. And I'd stop working out when I broke my hand, which again, it's like, why am I punching refrigerators? I'm 30 fucking 5. Maybe that is a larger issue in itself. You can't get, the prison stories, as wild as they are, Mike Virgin, all this crazy shit I've been through, as wild and as seemingly entertaining it seems to be to you guys, and to people that I tell about my life to. The fact of the matter is I really went through this stuff. There's no way that it doesn't affect you. And I self-medicated for so long that I didn't really get to address a lot of my coping mechanisms. Like my entire life, all of my socialization has been based off drug abuse, So I haven't had to deal with life the way that, say, somebody that doesn't have that crutch would. You have been through alcoholism or addiction, then or even an eating disorder or other devices that people use to distract whatever mental health issues they're having, self-medication. So I'm kind of in like a weird spot. Talking about being like that definitely takes power away from it, feel a relapse coming on. Not saying I'm gonna do it. I look at my kid and I'm like, I truly believe that if I do heroin again, that's it. It's over. And that's just my go-to. That's like my easy way out. Like, oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna do heroin. And I'm trying as hard as I can not to do that. I really am putting in effort, but I'm struggling right now. But as they say, show must go on, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're just going to continue storyline for juvenile delinquency, because this one does get kind of crazy, and I think that it's entertaining. We'll do a Wasco storyline this month. We'll finish the other ones. I do appreciate you guys that do have compassion for me and do understand that, at a certain point, it's like, fuck, man, I need just some time to decompress. And maybe that's it too. I try to juggle too much. Sorry for the 13-minute introduction. I will timestamp it. I don't think this one's going on YouTube. Oh man, I'm going to go as long as I can right now. And if I have to tap out, I'll just post whatever the fuck I did. Unless I say something really stupid, which I do sometimes. I'll be like, yeah, and then I was with a guy and he looked like a plant. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I'm like 40 minutes into a video. I'm like, I can't. That's just too much. So where were we at last time? Sorry for the fucking depressing shit. It is what it is. That's what's really going on. I've been in these weird, episodes. Sometimes on the flip side of that, I have manic energy that comes out of that, and that can be a beneficial thing, creatively or whatever, productive period. So let's get into the story. Where we had left off last time, all the stuff that led up to this, all the stuff that had gone down in LA, the Porsche, the car, Kelly, Papias, Orlando, Brian and Clyde, all of that stuff. End up going to this orphanage, right? And first day I'm there, I pretty much leave and go down in LA and do all that stuff. And then when I get returned there, they put me on an ankle monitor, and I'm basically fucked. I'm not going to be able to leave this place. And I make up this absurd rape story. Fucking Me Too'd an orphan. I'm like, yeah. Orphan tried to butt fuck me. that orphan did not try to butt fuck you. I'm like, me too, bro. Me too. And then they just drove me to my parents' house, and that was that. I think my parents had already been planning on sending me away back to Aspen Ranch in Utah. I don't think that it was, I got kicked out and then immediately got sent there. I think that this was already in the works. I think that they were just keeping me at Noah's Anchorage, the orphanage, to, just buy some time, keep me in a safe place. Now, remember, I have no idea what happened down in LA. I don't know if my friends have been in jail. I have no way of fucking calling them. I have no way of doing anything. And then I'm sent away. And when you're sent away, now I really don't have anything. I have, no phone, no email, no nothing. I'm just stuck at this fuckhole that I'd been at when I was 15. Now, the first time I was at that program, I was supposed to be there a couple years, I think, at least 18 months. I believe 18 months was the minimum. And there's a level system there. Mustang is the lowest one, and Maverick is the second. Greenhorn's the third. Ryder is the fourth, and Wrangler's the fifth. Nobody got Wrangler. If you were a Wrangler, they named a fucking city after you. Get the key to the city from the mayor. Nobody got that. Really, what it was is Maverick, or Mustang, you have no privileges. Maverick, you get a little more privileges. By the time you're a greenhorn, they look at you as you're trustworthy, and you can hang out with the riders, the level above you, and they can take you out. You can walk around and do stuff. Remember, I had a carton of cigarettes, I had a girlfriend there. I was a fucking man the first time I was there. I really was. I had it going on. For being, 15, I had a carton of Camel Turkish Shades. Nobody had that. And then I ended up bringing Bud back there, sewn in my comforter. So that whole time that I was running around and running amok there, I was manipulating the staff, and I ascended that level system quicker than anybody else had in history of that program. This is back in 2001. I saw 9/11 happen at that place. And I was only there, I don't even know, 8 months, 6 months, whatever it was very abnormal. I had just done an Oscar-worthy job manipulating my way through that program. When I say Ryder, the level 4 there, out of 150 kids, there's 5 riders, if that tells you anything. And a lot of them had been there for a year and a half, 2 years already. So it was a big deal that I had become that already. And eventually they talked to my parents, and they're like, wow, I think he just kind of went through a bad phase. We think that he's fit to come home. And I went home, and the night that I got back was Halloween. I went out, I got wasted, and pretty soon thereafter, I was snorting cocaine, and my drug addiction had really progressed overnight. There's a difference between smoking weed every day and snorting an 8-ball of cocaine a day. It got so bad with cocaine in high school that I'd wake up with bloody pillows all the time. For real, it was that's how much I was doing it. People are like, I did a lot of cocaine too. People always say that. Whenever I talk about blow, I'm like, yeah, I used to be really addicted to cocaine. Yeah, I smoked $600 worth of crack for a fucking year one time. That's out of control. No wonder I have sepsis going into my fucking brain. Back in high school, I was doing an 8-ball a day. Think about that. Most people get an 8-ball, that's 3.5 grams of cocaine, and they split it with their friends on a Friday night. And that's still too much for them. They start getting weird. You're with people and you're doing coke with them, and they just get weird as fuck, biting their lip. Hey man, you have any Oshkosh overalls? And you're like, what? I'm high. I'm high, bro. Get like that all the time. I was doing that every fucking day. I was doing an 8-ball every day. Wake up, do a fat line. 3.5 grams a day. And that's how I met Jillian. I called her Jill. And eventually, I get into heroin with her, start doing black tar. She cheats on me with Tron. We try to kill that chomo, Justin, up in the abandoned house. It's just a pretty wild run. And I'd gone, the first time I'd been at this place in Utah, I wasn't a full-blown drug addict yet. I was just a really bad kid. You know, I was a drug addict, but I didn't know that I was a drug addict. I hadn't done coke yet. I hadn't done heroin. I hadn't done meth. I was smoking weed and doing acid and mushrooms and drinking. Shit that high school kids do. But I was ditching all the time. I was getting in fights. I do what I want. I have fights, I have sex. I was having sex, all that stuff. I was out of control. Got expelled from 3 schools within the span of a month. So the first time I went there as a kind of just party kid, I guess. Like a bad high school kid. Second time I get there. Now I'm 17 years old. I have a buzz cut that's like bleached, it's like dyed raven black. Look like I'm in a punk band. I don't even listen to punk. You know, I'm like a fucking poser. No, I mean, I was in the Misfits a lot back then, but I just look like a bad kid. I had like dark circles under my eyes, and I was a full-blown drug addict by that point. I was addicted to heroin. And I went to this place kicking heroin. So the version of me at 17 compared to the version of me at 15 when I originally showed up at this place was night and day. I mean, I was a legitimate drug addict by this point. I'm going through withdrawal, you know, and I'd already been going through withdrawal at the orphanage, and they're not really equipped to deal with that at this place, you know. It's they don't typically find 17-year-olds that are already that addicted to heroin, or they're going to have to do a detox. You know, what my family should have done is they should have figured out what was going on with me and sent me to a place that I think could have addressed my needs more. I guess that's no fault of theirs. I was listening to my dad's interview for the documentary the other day, and he said with heroin, with cocaine, like he didn't know that I was doing these drugs when I was doing them. But what he had said, which kind of struck me, was that he wasn't surprised at what I did. You know, it got to a point where he just stopped being surprised. Like, dude, Ryan's smoking crack and doing gay porn with black fools down at the YMCA. My dad's like, nothing shocks me anymore, man. Nothing shocks me. You know, and I was like, God damn, I never did stuff like that, but it wouldn't shock him if I had. So now I'm at this place, and I told you the way that this particular Aspen Ranch, they have that level system, but before you can even be the lowest level Mustang, you have to do what's called Roundup, which is like it's like a work camp, but it's like completely bullshit work. Dig holes and then you fill it up with cement. You're like, what's the point of this? They're like, well, you just always with the chewing tobacco. Or you just dug a hole and you poured cement into it. I'm like, I know, but what was the point? So that the hole would have cement in it. And you're just like, oh my God, you know. And you'd have to do that for 2 weeks. Now, when I was 15, I didn't like doing that, but I wasn't kicking heroin, you know, it was a completely different thing. So the first thing that I had seen there was that guy Shane. And these are their real names. I don't even give a fuck. I can't remember what their fake names are. I'll just go with their real names so I can remember. The guy's name was Shane. He was like the skinny cowboy guy, but not like a good looking one. Looked like a fucking, you know, Oklahoma meth addict that just got like his 30-day chip, thinking he's like he's like, man, I changed my life now. But he still looks the same, if you know what I mean. And then there was Aubrey, and she looked like Jabba the Hutt, you know, and I'm not, you know, Karina's accused me of being a fattest. I don't think I'm a fattest. I'm just saying what it is. The bitch was fat. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know any other way to say it. She was really fat. Not just like a little overweight. I'm talking about like she probably had an insulin resistant disease or something. That's not that funny. I probably shouldn't say stuff like that. I'm probably gonna die. It's probably why I am feeling suicidal, is because I say stuff like that. I'm not feeling suicidal. Don't call the cops. Don't dox me. But The first time I was there, that scandal had broken off. And I know I talked about this in the last video, but at least I'm talking. At least I'm getting into this shit. I'll say video starts at 25 minutes. First time I was there, I'd seen, or I didn't see, but Shane got his dick sucked by Jabba the Hutt. You know, do you realize what that would be like? Imagine a marshmallow the size of a Jeep Cherokee and sticking a hole in it and then fucking it. That's what getting a blowjob from Aubrey would probably feel like. And she was like, she was this chick that always had food stuck in her teeth. She always had, you know, her lipstick all smeared. You know, she's probably, I don't know, shooting wombats with rifles or whatever the Jabba the Hutt does. And she'd suck Shane's dick in the parking lot. There was a staff parking lot where they smoked cigarettes. Now, we love that parking lot because my friends and I would go there low key and we'd grab refries back before I had the carton. Someone had seen this big flotation device looking person sucking this skinny cowboy's dick in a parking lot. Some really disgusting shit. It was a huge scandal. And he had to leave. You know? It was either I'm pretty sure he left because Aubrey was the program director. And I could, you know, little details like that, I can't remember if it was her. One of them had to leave. Let's just put it that way. So they weren't supposed to be together. It was this big scandal. Well, that was like 2 years before this. Now I'm back. You know, and I thought I might run into a couple kids that had been there the first time. There was not one kid. Completely new cycle of people. You know, and I'm getting there. I got my black hair and I see Shane because Shane is in charge of Roundup. Shane was the one that was asked to leave before. That's right, because I saw him in Roundup. Aubrey was the program director and she was still the program director when I was there the second time. Shane was the guy that was in charge of this work crew Roundup. And what you do is you stay in these little rooms down in a place called Reflections. This is in the basement of the main house. And if you get in trouble there, it's like going to the hole in prison. You go to this place called Reflections, and it's a row of chairs in the basement. You have to sit with your hands on the desk. And like if you break your little composure or whatever, they let you like get more hours. They sentence you to hours. Like, you get 8 hours in Reflections. And you're like, fuck. And then you're like on the 7th hour and you're like scratch your balls or something. And they're like, hey, no ball scratching. 3 more hours. You're like, fuck my life. And of course, I was in Reflections all the time the first time. That's why I ascended the levels so quickly. Because I had a whole strategy. I was like, I'm just going to be really misbehaved right when I get here. Like, exaggerate it, you know? Just like go get my tray at the cafeteria and I'll be like, waffles? I said pancakes, bitch. Just throw it in the fucking person's face. I was really misbehaved. I didn't do that, but I was, you know, I did it, but I'd gotten fights and shit. I was misbehaved. And I was playing the part on purpose so that I could, because I knew that I'd be able to control myself. And then they would think, oh my God, he changed. Like he's not throwing trays full of pancakes at people anymore. So that's how I'd done it the first time. Now I'm there the second time and I see Shane is working at Roundup, right? And so you're staying down there with Reflections. The Reflections are the chairs. There's also rooms down there, and that's where Roundup is the intakes. It's always people that just got there. You got to be in there for 2 weeks. It's kind of like it's an intake process. They kind of want to see how you are. There's a lot of weirdos at places like this. I think it's for them to kind of observe you a little bit, and they make you do this arbitrary work where you have to like dig holes and fill it with cement, or like one thing we had to do a lot is we had to go feed horses at 5 a.m. You know, we had like these fat, what is it called? Whatever, hay bales or whatever. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I don't remember. But the shit that you feed horses with. And like, they'd put us in the back of the pickup truck. Shane would drive us around and it'd be 5 a.m. or like 4:30 a.m. Freezing cold in Utah, by the way. It's fucking snowing. And we'd have to throw these, how do you say it? Hay bale? I don't know. Sometimes I mispronounce shit. But you'd have to throw these things off the truck, and then these horses would eat them. And like, that's whatever normally, but I'm dope sick, right? So right when I get there, I see Shane, and I come up with this plan in my mind. I'm like, they let this dude back. You know, nobody here knows about the scandal. I'm going to blackmail him. I'm going to be like, hey, you're going to get me out of here, or I'm going to fucking tell on you. What's up? So that was my whole plan. Like, I was already thinking, right when I saw the guy, how I was going to get out of this place. So when you're staying in this room in Roundup, you're probably with like 6 other kids, 6 other Roundup people. And it's guys. You're not in the same room with girls. Then there's the separate room, and there's girls in it, right? And normally I'm a sex addict, and I'll see women, and I really don't discriminate. I don't think I'd fuck Aubrey. Maybe if I was on meth or something, but usually when I'm in a place like that, the first thing that I do is go hit on girls. But not in the condition I was in. I was kicking heroin, you know? That's the last thing I wanted to do. And I remember just going and, you know, passing out. My first real like memory that I remember in Roundup was, maybe it was the day or two after that, a doctor finally comes and sees me, you know? And it's, you know, he ends up giving me Tylenol 3s. The same shit that my ex-wife used to suck dick for. They do nothing. Well, they always talk like that, right? Same guy's nose anchors, same as Tom. Well, there's these little white pills called Tylenol 3s that have the opioid placed inside of it. It'll make you feel better, and it can make your bowels more regular. And you're like, dude, that's not going to do anything. Are you fucking serious? A Tylenol 3? That's what you guys have at a fucking rehab? You're giving me a Tylenol 3 to come off heroin? Are you joking? They don't care. So they give me that, you know. And I remember, you know, I'd been to this place twice, right? So like different characters from this place kind of get mixed up in my memory. Time I was there when I was 15, time that I was there when I was 17. I remember the first couple days, like I said, I didn't even have any medication or anything. They straight give me Tylenol 3s. They might have given me some Klonopin or something. I don't know, they gave me a whole cocktail of stuff, but it wasn't anything cool. Like, I was definitely still like down to suck someone's dick if they had any heroin, but no one had any. So I sucked a bunch of dick for nothing. I was like, fuck, guys tricked me again. And I remember these kids were like talking to me, and they're like, hey man, you know, where are you from? And I was like, I don't want to talk. And they're like, oh, this place ain't so bad, man. You'll get you. I'm like, I've already been here. You've been here before? What are you doing back? I'm like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. And that's another thing. It's like being at this place the second time, the life experiences had really changed who I was. I mean, I was fucking delivering kilos of coke for Jill's dad. He's a Hell's Angel. You know, I was hanging out. She was 21. I was 17. I was dating a chick that was going to community college. I was doing heroin. I was doing lots of coke. I had completely lost the innocence from the first time that I was there. And these kids just annoyed me. Like, I'd gone from the orphanage to this, and I'm just like, oh man. So I was an asshole to them, you know? And I don't really remember any of them, any of these guys, I do, except for one. I'll get to him in a second. But I do remember that like the second or third day that I'm there, I had to go up, because they were trying to have me, you know, do the work route. And I was like, look, I'm laying in bed. There's no way I'm doing shit, you know. And I hadn't made my little blackmail move on Shane yet, but I was planning on doing it very soon there. And they let me stay in bed. You know, when the doctor came and prescribed me the Tylenol 3, like he let me get out of the work detail, but he said that I'd have to do some chores, you know. There's, you know, like just like at a sober living, at a rehab, there's always like a chalkboard, and it has everybody's name, and it's like, okay, Ryan is gonna, you know, scrub shit out of the toilet with a toothbrush today, or whatever it is. It's usually some horrible job. You're just like, fuck my life. There's really no good options, except if you have to like sweep the stairs or something. There's always jobs like that. You're like, oh, all right, that's not too bad. And I remember they'd make me do that, you know, and I don't know, I'd have to mop, whatever. But one of the chores was throwing these these hay bales. I was throwing these hay bales out of this truck. And I remember having to get up at 4:30. I remember seeing my name on the chalkboard, and I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm going to be with Shane, right? He acted like, of course, he acted like there was nothing weird there, but I would always like look at him, you know? I'd always like make my chin bigger. Like trying to like look like Aubrey. He probably thought I was such a sex offender. Probably looked like Bill Cosby. Well, some gelatin, you know. I think Shane was creeped out by me a little bit. But so I'm in the back of this truck, and I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning. I remember seeing my name on the chalkboard. I was like, fuck. And I got woken up. Now, at this point, they're giving me like Seroquel, Trazodone, whatever I'm doing. Typical shit that they'd give you at any rehab. So not only am I getting some sleep, but if I do get sleep, I have that like Seroquel hangover or the Trazodone hangover, you know, just this like very heavy feeling in your head. And I remember getting woken up, and it's always by some chirpy little fuck, you know? So he's like, hey, we're going to go feed the horses. I'm like, dude, it's, God, you were just such a bitch. I can't even believe you're at a place like this. I thought, misbehave, dude. Do something bad. Feel all fucking happy to do slave labor for these people. It's like, okay, man, here's your jacket. You know, I'm just like, if I was well, I probably would have slapped this kid. I was just so annoyed by all these people. So we go in the truck and we had to feed the horses. I'll never forget that. Just like how windy it was. And I'm in this like red jacket, and like, I'm so frail and so weak from kicking that I'm like trying to pick up the hay, and I'm almost falling out of the truck. And everybody just kind of started judging me. You know, and I'm not really telling people what my deal is. I'm just telling people I'm sick. I don't even want people to know that I'm coming off of anything. And I'm looking for the opportune time to make the blackmail gambit at Shane. You know, I haven't talked to my parents yet, nothing. I've been here like 4 or 5 days now. And the whole time I'm like, okay, when I get better, when I'm in a better state of mind, that's when I'm going to go and I'm going to blackmail this dude, you know, at least get me a phone call, get one of my friends to pick me up, you know, at least help me get out of here. You know, if they weren't going to let me get out of there, if my blackmail thing wasn't going to work, I was going to escape. That was like my whole thing. So sometime into the first week, I'm like, I guess I'm feeling a little better. You know, the first 3 days, 4 days are horrible. Then every day after that gets a little bit better. Now there's this kid named Jared, real name. I'm just not doing the fake names today because I'm too out of it to try to have to remember him on the next story, you know? So his real name was Jared. And Jared was like 5'1", right? I'm 5'6". I'm not used to people being smaller than me. And I'm not a bully or anything, but I remember just thinking this guy was the biggest little bitch I've ever seen in my life. If that makes the littlest bitch I've ever seen in my life. And he was a weird guy, you know? He kind of would always like put his head down, and like when it would come up, he would say weird ass shit. Do you ever get aroused when you see two people fighting? No. Why? And he put his head back down. Why? Because I'm not a fucking serial killer? What kind of question is that? Aroused by fighting? And he really would say stuff like that. I don't know about that particularly, but he would always say weird stuff that was suspect. Shit that, like, you know that a serial killer would say. You know, he'd always say stuff like, he's like, wow. He always talked really quiet like that, right? He's pale, little white kid with short hair, a little buzz cut, big ass nose. Don't you think it's interesting when people take people's lives with their bare hands? The power it must feel for somebody to die in your hands. I swear to God, he'd say, that is not even like slightly exaggerated. It's the kind of shit he would say. And I'm like kind of kicking still. I'm like, it would be exciting to strangle someone to death, he'd be like, no, it's interesting. Maybe fun. You know, creepy shit. I mean, it became an inside joke. Like, these other people weren't memorable, but this guy, Jared, was one of the weirdest people ever. My entire life. And he was so weird, and so, if this makes sense to you in any way, being dope sick like that, he was one of the only people I could really talk to because he spoke in whispers. You know, the last thing you want to hear when you're kicking is somebody's chirpy ass voice. Like, oh, we're going to feed the horses? Compared to, I bet dead people smell good, you know? And he'd say stuff like that. So I'd talk to him, and like, I think a lot of it was just for entertainment purposes, just hearing what the guy would say. It's like, what's this guy going to say next? So him and I start talking. Now it's like probably a week past that, right? So I kick, still have this plan in my head that I'm going to extort Shane. If he's not going to get me, like, you know, assist in my escape, at least give me access to a telephone, maybe give me cigarettes, do something. I'm going to extort this guy. When I first get there, it feels like that's my way out. But the longer that I'm there, the more I'm like, you know, I don't know. All right. Sorry, a little message just came in saying that Trump did not call COVID-19 a hoax. All right. I'm not going to say anything either way. All right. So, Jared and I started talking, right? Because, like I said, we're talking all the time because he's saying weird shit. I want to hear what he has to say. And he would always say serial killer stuff. He just said it enough where it was weird, right? But he's like, hey, I got to get out of here, man. Felt like I was in Shawshank or something. I was like, okay. I mean, what do you mean, like, escape? That's exactly what I mean. I was like, I'm with it. I'm with it. Let's do this, you know? And so him and I, he was the one that brought it up. He just said that he wanted to get out of there. And this was exactly how I was feeling as well. So other kids were all, you know, thought they were like in the military, and they were like, you know, whistling while they worked and shit. It was really annoying. He was the only one that seemed to have an issue with the fact that we were fucking kidnapped and taken to this place. So we started planning our escape. And I mean, we really planned it out. In Roundup, you go and you eat at the cafeteria. When you eat at the cafeteria, there's like a buffet style salad bar where they have like fresh fruit. They have all this stuff that you can take, little packs of goldfish, bread, all this stuff. So him and I start devising this plan. And I tell him, I'm like, look, I've been here before. I know for sure this area. Like, I know it because back when I was there the first time, because I was on the higher levels, I had the privilege of being able to leave the facility. You know, when my family would come visit me in Utah, because I was on the higher level, when I was a greenhorn and when I was a rider, they could actually take me out of the program and take me, you know, out on the town or whatever. So I knew the area somewhat, enough where I like felt confident that we could get out of there. So I started telling him what the plan was. You know, I was like, all right. Because I'd seen this, there was this other kid, Levi. I don't remember if I ever talked about him. This was the first time I was there. He had escaped. He made it for like 4 days. He was like in the Utah desert and shit, like straight beast. He tried to get out of there. He just booked it. He was a cool guy. I think he was from like Iowa or something. And they got like, you know, search and rescue. I think they had the military helping, and eventually they tracked the guy down, you know, and he had tried to go by foot. And I told Jared, that is all wrong. What we need to do is we need to steal that truck that they feed the horses with. That's our lick. But problem that we're going to run into is we're not going to have money. So we need to bring like big satchels of food. So that was like our whole thing. We were going to like go up to the cafeteria, and it was like in Shawshank where they're like you know, letting rocks out of their pocket. But we're going there, we're actually like bringing a bunch of fruit back. I didn't know how to make pruno back then. If I did, I probably would have gotten, no, I did know how to make pruno back then. I don't know why I didn't do that in Roundup, but, point is we just started having like this abundance of like snack food, you know? And like, of course there'd always be like other guys in Roundup that would be like, you guys don't have to keep all your oranges and tangerines. They give them to us. And me and Jared just look at each other, and Jared's like, I'll stab you until you're no longer breathing. You know, and the guy's like, huh? I'm like, I don't know, that guy's fucking, he needs to go to pill call for sure. So I start stacking up all this food, and all day, every day, him and I are paired up together, going off and talking. You know, we'd have to go and do this work stuff they had me not do the work stuff probably like the first 5 or 6 days. Maybe even less than that. I don't know. I just remember feeding the horses that one time and just how awful it felt with that wind hitting me, and I had like I had the sweats, and that cold air and that breeze is literally piercing when you're dope sick, you know? But we start talking about this shit all day, every day. And we start planning it out, you know? And it's like, this is probably the worst person that I could plan to escape with. But also, I tell him about how Shane had sucked, or how Aubrey had sucked Shane's dick. And we might be able to incorporate that into our plan, you know? And he was with that, you know? We didn't really, like, at first it was kind of like an abstract concept that we had to kind of put into practice, but it was part of it. The plan was to take that truck somehow. We didn't know how to do it. We didn't know where the keys were, but this is something we're going to figure out. And like I said earlier in the video, I like to approach everything in my life as an adventure. You know, that's really been like a coping mechanism for me, you know, whether it be prison, whether it be being at this place. God, dude. Whether it be anywhere. Fucking knows, man. I always just try to look at everything as an adventure so that I'm able to like deal with it. So it's not as ugly as what it actually is. I mean, I was taken in the middle of the night by 2 burly ass dudes. Black guys. God, it sounds horrible. 2 burly. Would I say that if they were white guys? Would have been like, 2 burly white guys took me. No, they didn't. It's racist. Jesus, it's how we're programmed. It's definitely prison programmed. These 2 burly black guys, they come and they get me in the middle of the night, then I'm forced dope sick out on some fucking ranch to be doing like this weird slave labor that may or not be legal for minors. And these people are allowed to touch you too. Remember that. Like legally allowed to restrain you or whatever. So that's our whole plan. Like we have these pillow sacks. Then we start like trying to get extra clothing. I mean, we're really doing, you know, we're kids that grew up watching Home Alone. We saw Macaulay Culkin like make a little map. He didn't even need to do that. It was like completely pointless. Ever think about that? You're like, what the fuck? Why'd that guy do a map? You know, but that's what we did. We like drew one out. You know, when you're a kid, you really get into stuff like this. So the one part of our plan that we did not fully flesh out at this point was the keys. We had no idea how to do it. And that was where blackmailing Shane started coming into the picture. Now, Jared, being the fucking serial killer that he was, his whole idea was to crush up our sleeping pills, our Seroquel, our Trazodone. We cheek them. They weren't on it like that. We crush them up. We save up a bunch of them. And we put in the night staff's drink, his coffee. One of us like stands guard, and the other one goes and puts the crushed up Seroquel or Trazodone in the night staff's coffee. That was one potential plan. So what we started doing is we started saving up all of our Trazodone and all of our Seroquel so that we could at least have that option. And that was our whole thing. We wanted to have multiple options. These other kids at this place, like, it seemed like they were all like just compliant or like cool with it, you know, because it definitely seemed like we'd have better luck if we had a third person for a number of reasons, you know. When it's just 2 people, you know, there was less that we would do. We try to like figure out how much Seroquel or how much Trazodone it would take to knock somebody out, and we were thinking like 5 or 6 of them would for sure do the trick, but we wanted another person with us. And at one point we were even considering like trying to like talk one of the girls into it, because we thought like, well, how useful would it be if we had a girl with us? we could cut her tits off. Huh? No, how useful would it be if we could bring one of the girls from Roundup? Oh, I didn't hear you. You know, this dude was creepy. And I'm like, yeah, this is shit that I was thinking about at night. I'm like, God, I'm going to be like driving on the highway in Utah with this kid. And low key, I feel like if he hasn't killed someone, he's probably going to kill someone. It's funny about this person too, Jared. Years later, years after we were at Aspen Ranch together, it's probably 18, 19? No, that's not years later. You know how it feels like that though. When you're 18 or 19, it feels like each one of those years is so long compared to how it is when you're like in your 30s. But I want to say I was probably 20. 20 sounds about right. And I ended up, that guy ends up moving to Santa Barbara. I forget where he was from, but he ends up moving to Santa Barbara because he's going to photography school. He's going to Brooks Photography Institute, same place that my ex-fiance went. And he ended up calling me. I don't know how he got a hold of me. I think maybe he had my parents' number. I think like at the end of, you know, when we were together, we gave each other like our parents' numbers. I don't know, somehow he had gotten a hold of me. And at that particular time, I had to have been, it probably was, it had to have been before Florida. So it was 19. So it was 2 years later. 2 years did feel like years though at the time. I was 19 when this happened. And so I was pretty much homeless. And I remember like checking in with my dad one day. And I was like, hey, whatever we were talking about, and my dad told me that he had gotten a call from some guy named Jared. I had no idea who he's talking about. My dad's like, he's weird. He was whispering. And as soon as he said whispering, I was like, that little fucker. All right. And I was like homeless. So of course I have the incentive to hit him up, you know, and we ended up hanging out, and I was addicted to meth back then. I was shooting meth. And I remember he was going to this photography institute, and he was weird as fuck. Like, just as weird as he was when we were 17, he was when he was 19. And I remember getting to his place, and I was whacked out. And he had like a nice condo because he had been attending the school, and I think his parents were paying for this condo or whatever. And I remember he saw me, and I think he could tell that I was like all bugged out on meth or something, you know, because I'm weird. When I'm on uppers like meth or coke, I don't talk. Like I don't have a personality. And it's weird. Like uppers do that to me where I'm just like I don't want to say anything. And I think right away he knew that something was up with me. But I remember going into his bathroom. I was like, I got to take a shower. Like, we didn't even catch up or anything. I was like, hey, man, thanks for letting me crash here. I don't think I'd even discussed sleeping there. I think I just said that once I got there. And I remember going into his bathroom and just straight beating off for like 10 hours. It was one of those things where I just went in there and just got it like for like hours and hours and hours. I wonder if I had porn. I want to say I had porn. I don't even know. This is before like you could just look at porn on your cell phone. All I remember is that I beat off for so fucking long at this guy's house. And he's like knocking on the door. He's like, hey man, are you all right? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm shaving. Oh, all right, man. You've been in there for like 4 hours. Just let me know when you're done. We can watch Entourage on HBO. All right, dude. Weirdo. And I just remember it really creeped him out. I don't know. I'll save that whole story for another time, but I did beat off in his bathroom for like 10 hours. Then I remember I tried to stay there the next night, and he had, okay, I'll just fucking whatever. I'll just finish what I was saying. The next night, so I ended up staying there that night. I beat off literally all night. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, probably 10 hours. And like, you know, in the morning I just stink. I just reek of masturbation, you know? Smell like onions. You know, if you know, you know. I fucking stink. Like, it doesn't matter how much fucking deodorant or perfume when I'm living my my double life. It doesn't matter how much cologne or deodorant you have on. Like, this like unmistakable stench of masturbation seeps through when you do it for that long. It's fucking gross. Like, whenever I run into tweakers and they're all like greasy and like I can smell that smell, I'm like, fuck, that's gross. And I remember the next night he ended up taking me to, you know, he was in this photography school, so he had press passes to the Santa Barbara Film Festival. And who's the actress? I think it was Annette Bening from American Beauty. Is that who's in it? I don't know. Annette Bening, that's who it was. And so we got these press passes, but it's like, they're bunk. Like, we can't get backstage or anything. And I remember he was like taking pictures of celebrities, and the only one he got was Annette Bening. There was like all these other like super cool ones there, and like he gets Annette Bening. I'm like, Jesus, dude. And then I told him that I would help him sell this stuff to the paparazzi, these pictures, and in return, like, he'd give me a place to stay. And I think within the like a day after that, there was something like, maybe I stole money from him, but he booted me out, and I never talked to him again. Really kind of pointless what happened with that guy Jared, but I did end up seeing him again after all this. But back to Aspen Ranch, 17 years old, and I'm not staying at this place. You know, I'm just not doing it. I'm freshly coming off heroin, and I don't want to be there, you know, and neither does this serial killer kid, Jared, who ended up being a paparazzi instead of a serial killer. Go fucking figure, right? But we still had to figure out how to get the keys. So our options were, we could drug the night staff, because there's always a guy that works there at night. It's always some redneck, like, on parole. It has like Iron Cross tattoos. They're like, dude, like, the skateboard truck company? He's like, no, like, fuck blacks. What are blacks? People. Oh. So, like, we had to get past that guy. It's like getting past the Nintendo boss, right? And then there was Shane, who was kind of like leading Roundup at the time, and he had the pickup truck, and he would drive us to go feed stuff. So it was either going to be, we're going to drug this guy, or I was going to blackmail Shane. And those were like our two options. And we'll get into that in the next story. It's really difficult for me to do one. I don't know if you can tell, but like, I'm like dying right now, just emotionally, physically. I'm going to Northern California on Sunday. We'll do the raffle Monday. That way I know for sure I can do it, because I'll have Wi-Fi that night. Because I'll be in a hotel. I won't be at this janky shit. I appreciate you guys for understanding that I am going through some shit. This whole month has just been fucking, it hasn't been bad, but like, my dad had a stroke last month in September. Before that, my mom was sick. I saw someone being like, you're fucking cavity, you're just being dramatic. I swear I'm not. I'll show you the x-rays and shit when I go to the specialist tomorrow. You know, I'm going to get emergency dental surgery. I'll show you. It's for real. It's crazy shit. There's like poison going into my brain right now. It's freaky. I'll show you the x-rays. But I do appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon. Palabra.